So today I'm going to show you how to make a ripening blueberry. I've got 3 different colours here to begin with. They will end up being different colours once I've finished dusting them, but as a base colour I've got a white, a sort of palish blue and a very pale green. I'm going to do the demonstration with the blue one, so I'll put them all away for the time being, just in my bag to keep them from drying out. And I'm going to start just by creating a little hook in the end of my 26 gauge wire here, and I've cut my wires into 6, so quite a short length. So I've just created a little hook in the end there, and I'll do the same with a couple more. Set them to one side. So start off by taking a small amount of blue paste, and I'm just going to knead that to make sure it's nice and pliable. If you feel it gets too sticky at any point, that's why you've got your corn flour here, just to give it a bit of dusting. And equally, if it gets too dry, then just add a little bit of vegetable fat. So that's nicely kneaded. So I'm going to pinch a blueberry sized amount. Now blueberries do come in different sizes, so this is kind of up to your discretion. Down to your discretion. So I've rolled that into a ball shape, and I'm now going to insert my wire. I'm just going to dip the hooked end in a tiny bit of water. You want a really small amount here. It's just going to help stick once the berry dries. So I'm just inserting that into the bottom of the ball. Kind of pinch the ends to close it. If it gets sticky, just put a little bit of corn flour on your fingers and help to close it up. So I've got quite a wide ball shape here. It does seem to narrow a bit as you're making the blueberry, so I start off with quite a wide shape. And now I've got my Dresden tool here. I'm just going to mark the end as if I'm sort of marking out the 5 points of a star. So I'm just easing the paste out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's kind of created a bit of an indentation in the blueberry. I'm now going to lay the ball down onto my table, taking the wide end of the Dresden tool, and from where I've made the hole, I'm just going to pull a bit of paste out like that to create the points of the star. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just moving the ball round as you go, and that should just open out to give you these 5 points of a star. So I'm just going to pull them out a little bit more with my Dresden tool. And then you want to sort of narrow this opening. So going from the outside, just underneath the really thin bits of the points of the star, you're just going to slightly push and move it round to just start to close the gap a bit. Okay, so it should start looking a bit more like that. And then, oh, my wire's come through. Just pull that back down again. So now it's up to you how you leave these end bits. Some of them are a bit more folded in on a blueberry. So I'll just do it like that. And then if you've got a bit more of a hole at the bottom, you just want to close that up. So you've got, it's nice and sealed on the bottom as well. And then you want to leave that to dry before dusting. I'm just going to show you one more. So we'll take a little bit of the pale green here. And give it a knead. Roll it into a ball. Take my hooked wire, just put tiny bit of water, and then you insert it into the bottom. Make sure it's nice and closed off, and then you get your Dresden tool and just imagine you're marking out the 5 points of a star. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just sort of putting your Dresden tool in the middle and pulling the paste out in 5 places. And then take the wider end, lay it against the table and pull out the paste to make 5 points of a star. Okay. So you want the end bits nice and thin, and then I'm just going to, underneath the 5 points, just ease this paste towards the centre again. It's just sort of closing the gap a bit. And then you can either open these star bits out a bit or just have them curling a bit more into the centre. Just turn it upside down, just make sure you're nice and sealed on the bottom. And if you find your berry needs reshaping, this is the point to do it, just at the end. Just make it a bit more into a round shape and then leave that to dry. So I'm now going to make my leaves. These come in quite small size, but they do vary in size a bit. Because I don't have anything as an exact cutter, I'm just going to cut them freehand with some scissors and then use a standard rose leaf veiner to vein them. So I've got a small amount of green florist paste here and my veining board. So I'm going to put a little bit of vegetable fat onto my veining board and press down my paste. It's a bit sticky, so I'm just going to use a bit of corn flour and just roll that out nice and thin. So it's quite a classic leaf shape. I'm just going to cut that sort of almond shape. Like that. So I can get a couple out of this length. So I'll do that. Obviously, if you do have cutters, you can use them, but you can get away without. And if there's any bits that you just need to sort of straighten out, I'll just go around and do that now. Okay. So I've just got a 26 gauge wire again, and this is still cut into, wire's been cut into 6. So I'm just going to dip the end into a tiny bit of water and push that into the wire. I'll do the same for the other one. Just push the wire in where the vein is. You're going about halfway. And now I'm just going to take my pad. I'm just going to thin the edges of the leaf. Do the same with the other one. Once they're nice and thin, I'm just going to take my leaf veiner and line that up centrally. Oops. Give it a good press. And the blueberry leaves seem to have a fairly flat shape, so I just normally take a little pinch at the bottom, and then some of them are slightly curling backwards like that. So I'm actually going to leave it to dry in, because they're quite small leaves, I'm just going to leave them to dry in a styrofoam block as opposed to putting them on a foam pad, and that should be fine. Do the same with the other one. And give it a little bit of a shape. And that's it. So they're going to dry overnight along with the berries, and tomorrow they'll be ready for dusting. So my berries have now dried overnight and I'm ready to dust them. I've got a selection of colours here, a sort of palish green, more browny tones and a burgundy, and a dark blue which I've lightened up with a bit of pale lilac, and then a brighter pink. So I'll start off with the blue one, and just going to lightly dust around. Because I'm doing ripening blueberries, I'm going to put several different colours on here. So I'll start off with the blue, and I'm going to do that pretty much all over. And then I'm just going to go in with some of this pink, just to give it a bit of a blushing effect. And if you feel like you've gone a bit too much with the pink, you can just go over with the blue to just mute it down a bit. So I'm now going to go in with a bit more pink. And then I'm just going to darken the sort of open bit at the end of the blueberry with a bit of brown. Just get a little bit more blue on there. And that one's done. So now I'm going to move on to the white one. So for this one I'm just going to put a little hint of pink on there. And because I've been using the brown, it's a slightly browny pink, which is what I want. Go in with a bit more pink in now. But with this one you want to go really light with the colour, so it's just coming in little places. going to go for a sort of browny colour in here. And maybe a touch of green as well. And that's that one. And now for the green one, I'm going to get my green colour, lightly dust that over. Go in with a little bit of pink, just to make it blush slightly. And then I'm going to go with a pink in here, in the opening. And then perhaps a little bit brown as well. And that's that one. So now I'm going to move on to my leaves. So for my leaves I'm going to go very simply over with a sort of darkish flat green. So very simple. I've got a slightly lighter green which I'm starting off with here. Dusting the front and the back of the leaf. And then just going over with a slightly darker one. And that's it. I'm just going to continue with the other ones. Now that I'm ready to assemble, I'm just going to take a length of my white florist tape, and I want this to be a half width. So I'm just going to fold the tape up like this and cut it in half. So I've actually pre-taped all of the stems of the leaves and the blueberries. Just going to open this out. Right, and I'm just going to start off by taping a few leaves together. So I've just got a little group of 3 leaves here together, which I'm going to add onto the blueberry branch as well. And I've left the tape white here rather than using a green or a brown tape, because I'm going to dust it afterwards to get the right colour. I've got a 22 gauge piece of wire here which I'm going to use to tape the blueberries onto. But I'll start off just by taking a few. I'm going to mix and match the colours slightly, so let's start off with one of each. I'm just going to tape 3 together, and they're all at slightly different heights, so just sort of have them coming off at different angles. And I'm going to tape that onto the main stem. So I'll leave that like that. Get another few So let's go for 2 this time. Take them on here. You can have a different play with the positioning of these. I've got 10 blueberries in total here to play with, and 5 leaves. Just going to take another 3. Oops. And then I've got a last 2 here. So just have a little play as to the way you'd like the positioning to be. Just decided these are going to go a bit higher, so I'm just unwrapping the tape a little bit. I think I'm going to go about there. And then I'm going to add in the leaves that I taped together as a 3, just about there. And then I'm going to add in my final leaves. Actually, just take that a bit more. Final leaves at the bottom. Just need a little bit more tape. And there we go, so you can then have a little play around with the positioning. And I'm now just going to quickly dust the stems to get a better colour. So I've got some, I think I'm going to go for a bit of brown and a bit of green. So I'm now just going in with a bit of green. And now that's all finished. So you can either now steam it, or you can give it a light spray with confectioner's spray just to finish off.